I'm Jay Jones, and I wanted to invite you to a conference that is coming up November 4th and 5th. It's called Christ-Centered Churches Conference, and I will be speaking from Philippians. So at this point in the conference, people will have talked about many things, such as the Christian worldview, what is the gospel, where do we see Christ coming in the Old Testament. And now with that built and that understanding, we're going to look at Paul's central exhortation to the Philippian church, because I think it is incredibly relevant and pressing that churches obey this exhortation today. He begins in 1:27 with his central exhortation, and it's given to you, but the you is plural. So this exhortation can't even be obeyed outside of the context of the local church. But he tells them, he's writing to them from prison, to this church that he loves, the church that he's planted, this church in Philippi, this Roman colony, and they exist here as an outpost of the gospel. And so he appeals to them based on this context. They have opponents. There's opposition to the gospel there, and he tells them, he says, whether I ever get out of prison or not, I want to hear one thing, that you're living your life worthy of the gospel. Now, what we should not do is think that is a moralistic exhortation, that, hey, you're living this way and not doing these things. That's not the exhortation at all. The exhortation is more how we would think of someone who has the privilege of serving in the armed forces, and they wear a uniform, and the one thing they don't want to do is to dishonor that uniform by stepping outside of the realm of what it means to have that special place of that service. So what Paul is telling them, he says, here's how you live a life worthy of the gospel. You do it by contending for the faith of the gospel. You have opponents coming against you, but together, you as a church, what's appropriate for you to do is to not retreat. We do have a certain level of opposition coming our way, and people wonder, well, what do we do as a church in a changing culture? And if we're going to obey what God wants us to do, it would be to obey what Paul tells the Philippians, and that is to stand firm, united with the gospel, contending for the faith of the gospel, pushing back against the culture and our opponents with the message of Jesus Christ and the hope that is found in him. So I want to encourage you to come, to be equipped, hopefully, to help embolden you to stand firm for Christ in a culture that is changing quickly. We hope to see you there.